We'll call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. If you will stand for the pledge. Silence. Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Here.
Amber Brown.
Here.
Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Renee Curtis.
Here.
Patrick Hale.
Here.
Zane Cantrell. We have a quorum.
Last year,
Move minutes be approved.
we have a motion they be approved. We have a second. Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Renee Curtis.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. Those of you who may have been here for the first time, have a present stuff up here on each item. We'll give you 3 minutes for those who wish to speak. If you have an attorney or a county, we're not going to give Ted, we're not going to give you an hour. So I want you to want to get into a cross debate on the items that come before us. We will ask you to come up to the podium if you wish to speak. First item of business we have is a requesting a child care facility. Now, this is located at the Murfreesboro Community Church, and it involves 12 children. So what do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application BZA 2025-1 involves the location at 2555 Las Casas Pike. It's a request for special exception approval for the establishment of a child care facility within a community assembly on a property located within the RM Medium Density Residential Zoning District. It's a 2.67 acre parcel, and just as Chairman Cantrell said, it's the Murfreesboro Community Church. And what they would like to do is to utilize 2 existing classrooms to provide daycare services for up to 12 children ranging from 2 to 5 years old. The proposed daycare will employ 2 teachers and provide childcare on Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. No additional buildings are planned. However, an outdoor fenced play area will be established, and in the future, the applicant indicates that a room may be renovated to a commercial kitchen so that cooked meals can be prepared for the children. So staff reviewed the application against the criteria for special exception and found that the request met the criteria for special exception. There will be no changes to the actual site. We posted a sign on the property. We received 2 informational calls. No one indicated being in favor or opposition. They just had questions regarding the zoning sign. And this is the church facility. It has a parking area, so people can pull in, drop their children off, and not have to worry about backing out onto the street. There's plenty of area for traffic circulation and for parents to navigate the site. These are surrounding homes in the area. And this area is also bound by, like the city of Murfreesboro limits. You have multifamily to the east and single family to the north. So. And that concludes our presentation.
Any questions to our staff here about this proposal? Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please, to the podium. give us your name and any additional information that you'd like.
My name is Anthony Stevens. One correction, though, is with a V. Now, I just want to say thank you to the board for accepting our proposal, and we're just looking forward to serving our community and the young mothers and fathers who has children.
Any questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll, no, wait a minute, sir. No, we don't do it that way. Please sit down. Thank you. Do you have anything else you want to say? Now, we'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this. If you'll come to the podium, give us your name and state your case. Learning process.
My name is David Bunting, and I live behind the congregation. And so, what I'm a bit concerned about, and also my neighbor who lives beside, there's two of us that live on Old Pitts behind the church building. Did not show our houses, which are the closest to the building. And so we are pulling out of Old Pitts. It's a dead-end road, and our concern is traffic on Las Casas Pike, and the challenge it is, even for us in the morning and in the afternoons, in the evenings, even to pull, right out onto Las Casas Pike as we're going toward town. To turn left can be quite dangerous, and so our concern would be the fact that of the traffic, that it could cause some problems, some risk, with that intersection.
How do you handle it whenever the church is going on?
Well, on Sunday, the traffic is reduced, and it's not quite as much as Monday through Friday, as we deal with, school traffic, work schedules and things like that. So it is, on Sundays, it is a reduced thing. And so that's our concern, is that, okay, what kind of, risk or traffic problems? It's a dead-end road, and so sometimes we get a lot of traffic just on that road, people turning around. Sometimes when they have events on Saturdays, and sometimes in those events, they have large crowds, and Old Pitts becomes basically...
So are you opposed?
Huh?
Are you opposed?
I'm not entirely opposed, but I'm concerned about, about what, it could be. So I don't know where I am. This is just kind of new kind of thing for me, and so...
It's only going to be 12 kids.
Right, 12 kids, yeah. And so, but anyway, so there's a challenge with the traffic in Las Casas Pike as it,
Well, there's
increases.
going to be traffic out there,
There
problems whether you have this or not.
Right.
And eventually, there's going to be a traffic light put up there, and that's going to create some more problems.
All right, will it be put up at Old Pitts and Pitts? Or?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the information.
Anyone else? On around.
My name is Brian Walsh. David mentioned it. I'm his neighbor, so I'm the one at the very end of Old Pitts there. And we share a lot of the same concerns. David mentioned that. I think the primary one for us is, maybe due to a lack of signage, we get a lot of people that come and end up turning around in our driveway. That road just kind of terminates. Basically, that's just my driveway where the road terminates. And so I think a lot of people are under the false impression that they can kind of cut through and get back to DeJarnette. And so that was really my main concern, is that we've got 3 young kids, and our kids are out in the yard playing in the driveway a lot, and we get a lot of people that come down and turn around. And so anytime we have something that would be, I guess, adding a little bit of extra traffic in the morning or afternoons. We were just wondering if it would be possible to maybe get some increased signage, maybe something that says like dead end road or no turnaround or something like that, just so people don't try to avoid all the traffic on Las Casas by coming down our way.
You might consider approaching your road commissioner. It's not really something we deal with, but
Or even
think-
just calling the highway department directly.
I think that, and we have tried that, I think the problem is that the road was abandoned. And so basically, right past where David's house is at, the road was essentially abandoned. And so when we've reached out prior, because there was a sign there, and the sign was knocked over, and we reached out to see if somebody could maybe fix that, and they said that the road was abandoned, and it was kind of up to us now. And so there's also no sign at the corner of Old Pitts anymore. I think that one's been knocked down. And so it's just an area that kind of seems to fall in between. Like, we're still county, the other part is city. And so, again, some of those similar concerns, the Stevens and their congregation have been great neighbors. He's been really kind. We've got to meet him a couple of times before. But I think that's just our primary concern, is that in this little tiny spot with just the three of us there, we get a lot of people that come down there trying to turn around, not sure where they're at. And so anything that's going to increase regular traffic to that area is just a little bit of a concern to us.
Call the road superintendent and ask for a sign to be put up. That's something that we can't do. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Close the public hearing. Have a motion on this.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the request.
Second.
Approved.
second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Patrick Hale,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Next item we have is a request by William Rodriguez, who is requesting a major home-based business, which on the ice. And what do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2025-2 involves a property located at 1311 Anderton Road. It is a request for special exception approval for the establishment of a major home-based business involving a mobile refreshment vendor upon a property located within the RL zone. And this property is a 5.73 acre property. It's developed as a house with outbuildings. And the applicant is seeking approval to establish their mobile refreshment business, which would involve the parking or storage of 6 refreshment trucks on the property. These trucks are standard Chevy vans, non-diesel 2-axle vehicles, 2 existing detached structures measuring 30 by 40 and 18 by 40 are used for business operations. All business will be conducted off-site except for employees entering and leaving the site to pick up and drop off vehicles. No signage is proposed. This request is the result of a complaint made to Code Enforcement Department. Once the applicant was notified of a complaint, they reported to our office and asked what the possible steps for resolution would be. And they were advised a major home-based business would be available. They could request for special exception approval for a major home-based business. Now, the applicant in your packets addressed in detail some of the concerns that were brought to their attention and the steps that they have taken to address and resolve the concerns. So I included it in the staff report because it's quite detailed. Now, the use would adversely affect other properties in the area. There is a concern that increased traffic, commercial traffic in the residential area is not compatible with a residential area. And the applicant has, and I'm trying to advance, these are photos of the surrounding area. And as you can see, this is a driveway that serves both the applicants and their neighbor. The driveway is located, sorry? Is that picture right there showing both houses? Yes, these are both homes. This is the neighbor's home, this is the applicant's home. And this is a shared driveway that both use. The driveway is located on the applicant's site. So that's been brought to our attention as one of the concerns. Now, the applicant does have road frontage, but this is a driveway that's been used by the neighbors for years. So you can see that there's vegetation along the property lines that the applicant has placed along both property lines. This is the neighbor's site, and this is the site where the trucks would be parked and the structures that are used for the business operations. And then the applicant has erected a fence between the properties, and you'll see a refuse container here that the applicant indicates is emptied like once or twice a month. We have received calls in regards to this request, some with concerns that will be mentioned during the public hearing, and informational calls. The applicant has also included letters in their application packet that indicate support for the request. We've had similar size operations in residential areas where they wanted to store work trucks. It is something that we've seen in the past, but it definitely is on a case-by-case scenario, and there is some obvious visual changes to the outside appearance of the site based on the business trucks being parked so close to the property line. The applicant has included the current setup, which shows employee parking to the rear of the detached structures, a carport. You'll have, they have trucks on the front and back of the detached structures. They are willing to construct a new driveway that's not shared by the neighbor to the back of that would extend to the back of the property, and they are willing to construct a large structure in the back where they could park the trucks within the structure to help with the visual appearance. And these are elevations that the applicant included in their package to show what, that structure could possibly look like. And so that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this? Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just got it's more a confirmation.
Come on around.
The parcel, I know we're looking at the parcel that's highlighted right now, but the one beside it, they own that too? Is that what I was seeing with the split driveway, or is that the connecting neighbor?
The neighbor to the north shares the driveway with the applicant that is located on the applicant's property.
And then on the other side of that neighbor, it doesn't look like there's a home. And then on the other side of the blue, yes, where your arrow is, that's a home, right?
Yeah, the next parcel to the south looks like it has a residence on it. It's just a much larger parcel than the neighbors to the north.
Okay, I'm just trying to see how close it is to the other neighbors. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions?
This is a question directed at codes. Is there any other history with the codes enforcement report other than just that it was reported?
So we received our first complaint in '22. When we went out there, there was three trucks at that time, 2 trucks. And our inspector had a conversation with the applicant at that time and advised that a home-based business application would have to be made or the business relocated. When he went back to do a reinspection, the trucks were gone. So we assumed that it had been abated, and we closed that case. We didn't hear anything else until October of '24, when we received another complaint call. And when we went out there, there were 7 trucks, and that resulted in this application. He was advised of the same thing, that an application would have to be made to BZA, and hence this application.
Thank you.
Any other questions to the staff? Okay, go ahead. Give us your name and any of you.
Okay. Sorry, I wrote this down because I'm not a very good public speaker, but I'll do my best. Thank you for giving me the time to speak today. My name is Will Rodriguez. Along with my wife, we own Kona Ice, Middle Tennessee, and Traveling Tom's Coffee. We're here today to humbly seek a zoning exception to allow us to continue running our small family business. This business is not just what we do, it's who we are. It represents years of hard work, sacrifice, and dedication, not just for me, but for my entire family. My mom, my dad, my sisters, and my wife all work in this business. We built this business with integrity and a deep sense of purpose, striving to be more than just a service provider. We've done everything we can to give back to the community, whether it's through school fundraisers, supporting local events, or helping those in need in any way that we can. If you go to any games or any sports or special ed classrooms, if you step in them, you'll see our logo in there, and that typically means that we've donated a portion of our proceeds or helped them out in any way. I know there's been opposition to our request. There's also been a little bit of misinformation shared. I understand concerns like these are taken seriously, and I'm here to address any questions you may have. I only ask for fairness and for our side of the story to be considered as well. The truth is our operation is small and respectful, far from being the kind of enterprise that disrupts the neighborhood. We have worked tirelessly to ensure that we comply with regulations, that remain good neighbors. In fact, many of our neighbors and community members have shown their support for us. If you look at your packets, you'll see letters of support from other neighbors whose property lines touch our property line. And they're also here to speak. Some of them couldn't be here to speak, so they sent emails. This exception is critical for our family. Without it, we stand to lose everything we worked hard to build. It's not just a business, it's our livelihood, it's our dream, it's the foundation for our future. Wouldn't be here today if it wasn't absolutely necessary. I had every intention from the get-go to build a warehouse. I worked with Swanson companies, and even as rising costs continue to grow, also worked with friend that's a financial investor that owns many businesses in town. Ultimately, we went from what a warehouse was supposed to cost, $1.3 million. When it came down to closing and I asked for an updated estimated cost of goods, it was going to be $2.4 million plus a 15% commission to Swanson. It was just unattainable. The note on that would be tremendous. It would be about $40,000 to $45,000. Not something that we can afford or swing. Also looked at renting warehouses if you can find them, which are very, very hard to find, are very expensive. You're looking at about $15,000 to $18,000. Not something that is doable for us. I know this board has a difficult job in balancing the needs and concerns of the community, and I respect the weight of the decision you have to make. I'm asking humbly and sincerely for your understanding and approval to allow us to continue running our business. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and for giving me the opportunity to share my story. I'm here to answer any questions or provide any clarification you may need.
In your opening statement, you said there's some misconceptions and you'd like to clear them up. Could you? There have been very, very deep detail in there. I went one by one. I think some of them are like the amount of trips a day. It's not quite like that. There's misconceptions of what people believe that our business is and how it runs. We are not just going in and out. Typically, the trucks leave, they're gone, and then they come back at the end of the day. We don't run every single day as much as I wish that we did. If we did, I wouldn't have the need to have a full-time job as I do now. In a major home-based business, you're going to be living there. Is that correct?
Correct. We have been living there. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
All right. And also, it's supposed to be where you can't even tell it's a business there.
Right.
How would you be able to accomplish that?
So right now, the only thing that you have is the visual of the trucks from the road, and so that's why I propose. And I'm willing to do whatever you guys deem is necessary within reason, but my proposal is to basically move the trucks out of visual way. So if they go, as in the drawing, if they go to the back of the property line, it's not viewed by anybody, and then I would keep them in the building. And so not heard, not seen.
So all your equipment is going to be inside of a building?
Yes, sir. That's my proposal. It's not that I'm trying to get anything built. I'm just simply trying to appease any concerns from any neighbors or anything like that. Yeah.
It's not really appeasal, that's the requirement. That no one outside is supposed to recognize that there is a business there. I know you have a lot of support. We got tons of letters for and against. That's not what we make our decisions on, is a popularity. I do have some questions though. Our requirement says 3 employees. You got more trucks than that. So how many employees do you have?
Right now?
Yeah.
We probably have about 13 right now.
13.
But they're part-time employees, so it's not everybody at the same time, and not everybody really, if it
There's a
was
big
3
difference between 13 and 3
Sure.
on the
And-
requirements,
and
is
so-
what I'm asking.
Right, so I was looking, I try to, I don't do this every week like you guys do, so I try to understand it as best as I could. To me, it appeared that it was 3 on site, and that's definitely something that we could do if we had to abide by that, to just only have 3 people on site at a time, because they're only there for such a short amount of time.
You said that you would talk about putting a driveway to the storage. One of the things I see with the layout is your neighbor's house is 100 foot from all of this. It's not like he's 500 feet away.
Right.
So how would you even bring your trucks up to the back without him hearing the trucks all day?
You can't hear the trucks now as is, but I mean, there's a tree line that goes through there now. You can't see it on this picture, but there's an 8-foot privacy fence and the whole tree line. We would simply put it on the other side of the tree line. If need be, actually the neighbor that's across the street, he owns Mid-TN Solutions. So he was over at our house today, and we were talking about, hey, if we had to expand or do anything like that, one of the things would be to relocate the septic lines, which are on the left side of the house. If we were to do that, then we would be able to throw the driveway on that end, and it would be as far away as we could get. Whatever it is to meet the requirement is what we're willing to do.
I just have some questions, and I'm not trying to be again or for it, but I do have questions that's going to help clarify for us.
Yes, sir.
What size trucks delivers things to your business?
So it varies. Once we put the fence up, basically sent a directive to Kona Corporate and everybody that does our deliveries and said, hey, we can't have anything big or major come here. We ordered the majority of our supplies in January because we estimate what we're going to have throughout the year. So that's kind of when it's at. We resorted to the big delivery box trucks meeting at a gas station that is right off 231. It's across from Big G, Springs, or Express. And so I meet there with my pickup, and then we load it up, and I just take it and...
So there'd be no 18-wheelers?
There'd be no 18-wheelers. No, they can't. They actually can't go up the driveway because there's a light pole and then the mailboxes, so they can't make that turn.
So is the largest thing a UPS truck, stuff like that?
Yes, and it'll be minimal because I know the UPS truck goes often, or has been seen often. My wife and I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, and so I never really thought about that until I was like, okay, I can see that. But as far for us, I mean, we're getting cups and spoons, like there's not a whole lot to it.
Amber, did you have a question over here? We'll get back to you.
A couple things. It's a gravel driveway.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right. Okay, so traffic and how often your vehicles are coming in and out, that's one concern for me because that's just dust, right, that your
Right.
neighbor has to deal with. But another piece, too, is tell me about a typical day. Like right now, before you had to come here, what does a day look like before we have to go through these regulations?
So
How many employees came to your site and how many cars are parked there?
So today, it was 2 people, only because we're trying to give them hours because we carry our employees through the winter. Really only 1 was necessary, but because it's cold, so shaved ice is not huge. But we have our coffee business that's very similar to the Kona Ice. And so that truck is the one that went out today. It only went out to go to a school lunch, and then it came back, and that was it. Now, speaking on the gravel, I have that concern as well because we live right next to 3 rock quarries, and so we deal with that dust often. I get fined if the trucks show up on social media and they have dust on the wheel caps. Kona Corporate will zoom in and they'll look at every square inch of the truck. So whenever I first bought the property, I had proposed to pave the driveway. I got an estimate done, it was about $80,000 to $90,000. My neighbor did not like that. I think he was misunderstanding me when we were talking. I had no intention of taking the driveway from him, I simply wanted to pave it. He didn't like it, so we left it alone. Now, if one of the requirements was to pave it, I would be more than happy to pave it because we really need to pave it. Right now, my employees have to clean the dust caps and clean the truck with a rag and make sure it's good to go before they leave and then when they get to an event. So.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Mike?
a couple of questions. Yeah, you said at peak times you've got 13 part-time employees, but are all of them there at one time, or is they just trickle in as needed based on the jobs?
No, sir. Even when they're scheduled, sometimes they're not there. So it is extremely hard to get people there. No, I mean, it's literally a person per truck. Not all trucks go out, not all of them go out at the same time. There have been occasions, so if we're serving Blackman Middle School, which is one of the largest middle schools in Tennessee, then yes, I'll send multiple trucks out. And so, that might look like a caravan. Now, I wish I could serve them every day. I even wish I could serve them every week. It doesn't happen. It's about twice a year. There's only so many schools in Rutherford County and surrounding areas.
So it would be fair to say that you would have no more than 3 employees there at any one time?
Correct. If
Okay,
that's
well,
the requirement, then yeah.
Yeah, that's what the requirements say in the.
Yes, sir.
For you, Mr. Sartain, to let you know that I, even though they got 13, I still think they would meet the general requirements in that area. And then you're proposing to put a barn in the back to store the vehicles in when they're not in use. And so they would be not visible then from anywhere, even right next door to the building.
Correct. And the pictures that they don't do it justice. What I was trying to find, and I couldn't find it because it was a haste of trying to get all the paperwork together. It was a lot to put together the packet. But there's a building on Squire Hall called Environmental Health Specialist, and it looks like horse barns. And for the first 3 years of me living there, I thought it was horses that were there, but I never saw any horses. And eventually they flagged us down and asked us to serve them, and I realized that they chop tires and they make things out of rubber for construction sites. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I really like that because I'm not a big fan of just the metal building, but if I built something, then it would look kind of like that, I don't have horses, although I do want 2 Highland cows, but I don't have horses, and I would make it look kind of like that. And that way it fits, the aesthetics of where we live, because we do live in the country, and we do like that, and we enjoy it.
Yeah, try to shorten your answers
No,
a little bit.
I just want to make sure you know, Mr. Chairman, that I still have further questions here.
One more?
I've got more than one more, sir. You've currently got 6 vehicles then that travel, plus the coffee vehicle then? Is that 7 total, or is it 5 plus 1?
Right now we have a total of 8.
Of 8?
Yeah, 8. They're not all on site right now, though. I think there's only 4 on site, mainly because it's winter, so they're off getting checked, the safety checks, transmission redone on one of them, just regular maintenance, so they're at shops or at dealerships right now.
Okay, and then there was mentioned 2 trailers. What are those used
So
for?
we had the Kona kiosk is what we call them. They look like little tiny trucks, and they have a hydraulic roof and they raise. So we do have 2 of those. We had 4. We're in the process of downsizing and selling those. Those are mainly only used for soccer tournaments, or when we do the Walmart and Sam's Make-A-Wish Foundation, whatever it is that they do every June. So that's when we set those out. But it's a lot of work, so we're trying to get away from that.
Okay. Another question is the driveway appears to be serving both residences. Whose property is the driveway on?
The majority of the driveway is on our property.
Okay. Is there a easement tied to that
There
driveway?
is an easement. It was not disclosed to us by the previous owners, but I did find out after moving in. We talked to the realtor. He said, yes, there's an easement. So we said, okay. We looked at the easement. The easement says that I have to allow access. Never once wanted to take away access.
Okay. And then is there any arrangement on maintenance of that driveway by both parties, or just?
There is no arrangement. I thought things were good until this came up. Normally we have purchased gravel for it. Our neighbor and his son have spread it and fixed it. I thought that was a fair agreement because the gravel was so costly. I've since found out that maybe he didn't like that. More than willing to pay for all of the driveway and fixing. I understand that I use it far more than he does, so I'm okay with that.
Okay. I've got a few more, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to occupy all the time and let some of the other members talk.
Have some more? Go ahead. We'll switch
No,
to
go ahead,
you.
Mr. Sartain.
We'll get back to you, Mike.
Okay, you have like night football games, things you go to?
In September, we do.
So what kind of traffic do you have after those events, 10 o'clock to midnight?
A truck coming back. I mean, the truck will come back. There's not a whole lot to it. I mean, they fill the truck up with ice and then roll out.
Okay. I guess this is the hardest question. In 2022, you were approached by them about parking your trucks and told what you needed to do. So now we're in 2025. How did we get from there to now and
Sure.
with non-compliance?
So how we got from there to now was I kept in communication with who I thought was my county commissioner at the time, was Mr. Pettis Reed. I've now found out is Mr. Jonathan Beverly. But I kept in constant communication, let him know, hey, I'm trying to build a warehouse. I let the neighbor know that I was in the process of building a warehouse. About $90,000 into it that I spent to realize that that was not going to be attainable is where we were at. I was very much hoping that this past year would have been where we would have been able to finalize that, and then this coming spring we would have been moving into a warehouse, but it just didn't happen. It's not that I didn't take the steps. I took the steps. We got permits, we got drawings, we got everything approved. It was just when we got down to it to close on it, it was too much.
Okay, I'm good.
Mike, did you have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay.
At this time, thank you.
Patrick?
So for the dust mitigation, you're offering to pay for the entire driveway?
I am, yes.
Okay. And your neighbor would have full access because of the easement? And you want to build a building to make it to where nobody can see your trucks? Do you have anything for storage outside whenever you receive something? Is everything kept nice and clean as it's presented in these pictures?
It's just as it's presented. We have a UPS delivery box that receives our stuff and our neighbors' boxes quite often. But that's not business related. As far as the business, there's no outside storage of any sort.
Thank you, sir. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing at this time. If you'll come, those of you who'd like to speak, if you'll come forward, give us your name here and state your case.
Good afternoon. I'm Ted Goodman of Murphy Goodman Rosado Attorneys. We represent Darren and Janice Shreve in opposition to this application. We've submitted a letter setting forth the reasons for that opposition. I'll just try to hit some of the high points of that letter. The applicants have not met their burden of proving that they qualify for the special exception. That is the applicant's burden. The applicants purchased their property in October of 2021. Nothing's changed about the zoning of the property since then. The applicant's commercial use for their two separate LLCs that they have operating out of here. They have a separate LLC for the Kona Ice and for the coffee. The traffic generated, the parking for their fleet of either 6 or 8 commercial vehicles, and the parking for their employees conflicts with the pastoral nature of the area that the RL zoning is designed to preserve. One thing, the applicants have a family of 7 people. One of the newspaper articles that I attached said they have 23 employees. They said today they have 13 employees. They've got 7 people, 13 or 23 employees, all using a conventional sewer system. Now, even if the employees don't work on site, at least some of them are going to need to use the facilities when they report to and return from their shifts. So that presents an unacceptable risk of septic failure that poses a danger, potentially, to the public health, safety, and welfare. This is one of the factors that they have to meet in order to qualify for a special exception, is the requested special exception must be necessary for the public convenience in that location. The application demonstrates that this is requested to bolster the applicant's profit margin, not for the public convenience. Major home-based businesses are normally listed to 3 employees on the premises at any time. Now, regardless of how many employees are actually on the premises at any time, the employees coming and going and leaving their cars there to report to work and return from work, all that is creating the traffic and interruption on the neighbors that is exactly the reason that they're normally limited to 3 employees. So it's violating that. They normally can only use 500 square feet of an accessory structure. They're using 2 buildings totaling 1,920 square feet with plans to add a third. If the BZA permits this, it should require, may go just about another 30. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, sir. Sorry, I called you Your Honor. It's reflex. If the BZA permits this, it should require the parking lot to be screened and also mitigation of stormwater runoff. A special exception business cannot change the outside appearance or character of the dwelling unit. They've added an employee parking lot, and their fleet of parking, the parking of their fleet is visible from the street, which also violates the requirements. This is not appropriate for a major home-based business. The fact that they're asking for so many exceptions from the exception demonstrates that. They're asking for more employees, more vehicles, more square footage, more buildings than normally would be permitted. And so that shows this is not appropriate for a special exception. The application should be denied. And one thing I know, the applicant discussed kind of as to giving today as an example of a typical day. Mr. Sartain, you asked, well, what about after a football game? I mean, I'm thinking, you're not going to sell near as many snow cones or have near as many employees selling snow cones when it's 30 degrees as opposed to when it's 95. So we would ask that you vote to deny the application. Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
Questions while he's up here.
Ted, let me ask you this question. You heard some of the stuff that the applicant was saying. In some of those things that he was willing to do, is there a compromise that your clients and him could work out? I don't know.
Yes, I'm looking. I believe my client is shaking his head that those suggestions would not be acceptable.
I thought, well, don't hurt to ask.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
We'll open this for a public hearing. For anyone who'd like to speak on it, if you'll come around to the podium, give us your name, we'll give you 3 minutes.
My name is Charlie Davidson, and I'm here to, speak in support of Kona Ice. 2 things I would just like to say. One, I come here as a father whose child has worked for Kona Ice. I can say I watch my daughter on GPS, even though she's 19 years old. From the time her truck hits his property, less than 10 minutes, I'll say 20 minutes at the most to 10 minutes, she's gone, so she's done her responsibilities, and she has left his property. I live on the north side of town. It's on the south side. So I can say from having watched her location before coming in, it has been on a Friday night football game. I can say it has been 10 o'clock or so. Yes, I'll agree with you. But I don't think they're lingering around, at least as I can say for my daughter. So that is something I would like to say. The other thing I would like to say is I think Mr. Rodriguez is a very valuable asset to our community. Several years ago, I got involved with helping our schools raise money. He has been a vital part of raising or being a part of $7 million for our schools. at a time where funding is short for our schools, I went to him and said, hey, I've got a teacher that just called me and has a kid that needs a coat. We have kids that need shoes. We have put in athletic facilities, and he's someone I can call to when a teacher calls me in a bind and needs help, and his business allows him to give back to these things that they need support for, whether it's in the north part of the county in Laverne or the south part, the west part, the east part. He is supporting all of our schools through his businesses, and he has helped all of our schools with what his business allows him to do. So I would just like to say I am supportive of him and his business, and it sounds like he is willing to compromise to do what he can. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
If you could, please state your address after you state your name.
Anderton Road, which is not far from Mr. Shreve and Mr. Rodriguez. I agree with everything that Mr. Shreve's attorney has stated, and I think something that nobody has brought up is the noise of the trucks. I live a little ways away, but I can still hear those backup beepers all night long when they're coming in and out. I just can't imagine living right next to him. He's doing a good job of what he's doing with Kona Ice. I'm not taking that away from him. It's great to have a business, but I just think it's outgrown where it is, and it should be in an appropriate location. I don't like hearing it. I just can't imagine how Darren feels when he has to hear that all night.
Thank you. Next. Reminder, when you come up, give us your name first thing, and please speak into the microphone.
My name is Wesley Cloud. My wife Jacqueline and I live at 1363 Anderton Road. We're their next door neighbors. Our property are the larger parcel that touches theirs. Just because it was just brought up, something I want to make clear. All the backup beepers, as far as I know, have been turned off for a little while. We didn't really love that when that was going on, but they've been off for a while. We're in full support of everything that they're doing, especially the proposed building and whatnot. I mean, it's already not really visible to us through the trees. We don't really hear them come or go, and they're not any adverse traffic to us. I mean, we're right there. I sell real estate here in Middle Tennessee, and my wife primarily works from home, so we're at our home a pretty decent amount, and we would know. It's just not an issue for us anyway. I understand there's a little bit more about the width of their lots, actually separating our home from theirs, but it's still, it's a flat pasture. It's not going to trap sound. So just to keep it short, we're in full support for the other side neighbors, at least from our perspective. So thank you.
Thank you. Next. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Zach Lynchide. I live at 1015 Anderton Road. I'm on the corner of Anderton Road, the intersection of Squire Hall Road. We get probably majority of the traffic in the area since we're on the corner there. I work from home. The traffic from the business has not been. Drivers are drive well. They drive a lot better than some other people I see in the area.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Harold Sobiek. I'm a pastor at Blankenship Community Church, which is on Ice. One of my concerns that has been brought to my attention by some of the people in the area is there has been a gun range put on that property, and there has been night shoots on that property. So that's a major concern that's been brought to my attention as pastor of the community.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Hi, I'm Bethany Linscheid. I live at 1015 Anderton Road as well. The corner one, my husband was just up talking. As far as noise and traffic, like you said, we're the corner lot, and with that, we get all the traffic from all directions. We do occasionally hear the beeping at night. I have 3 young children. It is of no concern. Now, we are not as close as their neighbors. That's true. It's never been an issue for us. My brother lives with us, works from home. I am a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool, and my husband works from home. So we are home all of the time, all together, and this business has never been a concern for our safety, for anything like that. As far as the bathroom issue that was brought up, that's not my septic system. However, I do have a family of 6 that lives in my home. They have a family of 7. That's not that different. We have people over. They use our facilities. No one's ever been concerned when we have parties or we have anything like that. To me, that seems like an easily dismissed part of this concern. As to the gun range, I don't think it has any bearing. We hear it. They're safe. We've been invited over there. I've had my children back there while those things are happening, and there's absolutely no safety concern in my mind about that. They're also just decent people who are trying to have a small business, and it sounds big to anyone who doesn't know margins of small business. I've owned 2 small businesses as a no. There is no margin for that kind of extra expense when you're looking at warehouses and everything. They do a good job, they're respectful, and I have no complaints for them as neighbors or business owners in my experience.
Thank you. Next.
Crystal Templeton, former resident of 1311 Anderton Road. I apologize, I have a little bit of a cold. I just got off the airplane. I'll be reading this as I too aren't well at public speaking. Excuse me. My husband and I have given public service to in this county for over 50 years. We've seen the growth in Rutherford County. Like, I started working over here in 1998. We encourage and appreciate all the small businesses that have made Rutherford County what it is. Although we have moved, I now live in Walling, Tennessee, we are still vested in this community with our friends and family. We aren't saying no to Kona. We're not saying no to Kona at all. We're saying no to Kona in the country. It has surpassed a small business and what we were told when we sold the property to them, what it would be. It has no place in the neighborhood. I can say for certain that some of the photos that you've been shown tonight are old. This is a one-way road, it's barely wide enough for one large truck. It's not one way. The property that is in discussion is only 200 feet wide. So when you have the fence there and you have the driveway there and then you have the house there, you're thinking about 200 feet property wide here. Also, for the record, I had a lot of Amazon deliveries as well. Mr. Shreven never complained about those. The neighbor that doesn't hear them that works at home a lot, I saw that house go up and I know what kind of insulation they have, so I don't expect that they would hear anything going on outside the house. There has been mention of not being able to afford a commercial spot. However, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the money that has already been spent and the money that he is proposing to spend on 1311 Anderton is more than enough already, and would still be more than enough to get him a commercial spot. He said multiple times that he was going to fix the issues, and he's not. Bottom line is, guys, the codes are here for a reason. Violating them and then applying for a variance is not the proper way of doing things. Where my concern is as tonight, as you consider this vote, what stops larger businesses from bypassing you and your rules completely and buying land cheaper as a residential area, then applying for those zoning variances in retrospect. That's not how we do business in Rutherford County. That's not how we've done it the entire time that I lived here. So I ask that you vote no. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next. Anyone else? Got 2 people here to speak, right?
Hi, my name is Sarah Rodriguez, and this is Mateo Rodriguez. He is in full agreement with me. But I also live at 1311 Anderton Road with my husband, Will. And yes, we were going to apply for a zoning exemption, and then like he said, we wanted to build that building, and I support my husband with everything that he wants to do, and so I said, let's do it. And it's a very long process getting something built, and he did pour some money into it. But honestly, my mom heart is so grateful that it fell through, and I really am glad that we're here at this zoning meeting. And these are the only times that I get emotional, so I'm gonna speak quick, but it has allowed us to foster, and now we are in the process of adopting 2 little boys, and it allows me to homeschool them, obviously with our baby as well, and get to work from home. And that's why I want this zoning exemption. So it is a personal reason, but this is our family business, and I felt it was a blessing from God that we weren't able to go through with our commercial property. So I vote yes, that we do get this zoning exemption, as it allows us to run our business from home. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Evening. My name is Ben Howard, and I own Kona Ice of Wilson County, so Lebanon, Mount Juliet, so on and so forth. I know the type of revenue numbers that we do, and we give generally in a year more than $100,000 back to schools and elementary schools, churches. I know that Will's numbers are significantly greater than mine, and the contribution that he gives to his community is shocking, honestly. And we do not have to do that. That's not mandated by corporate. That's money that he works hard for, he and his family work hard for, and they voluntarily give that to their community. Another item from a character standpoint, if there's been numerous occasions where myself or my family have needed a hand, and that the Rodriguez family has always been there to help, and we're grateful for that. So I hope that you'll consider their request, and
You. Next. Anyone else?
My name is Billie Jo Sobiek, and my husband and I own a body shop here in town, Alliance Auto Body. I can't hardly breathe. We own Alliance Auto Body here in town, and people talk about how they feel in their heart and all of that, and that's great. But we have jumped through so many hoops to run our business for the last 20 years here, and we believe in what you do, and we've done everything we had to do. And we know Darren, and, we live in Bedford County and work here. But it isn't right that they get to do that from home and bypass all of the rules when we've done everything we've had to do here. So I want to vote no.
Thank you. Else?
My name is Gary Templeton. I currently live in Walling, Tennessee. I was the original owner of the property at 1311 Anderton Road. Built. I want to proud for Mr. Rodriguez that he's grown his business to the size that it is. Those lots are 200 feet wide. When the driveways were put in, and I was there when the driveways were put in, they were originally 8 foot. They run down the property line, and they were 8 foot. Over the years, it was built and started in '96. Over the years, everybody drove down the center, so it just kind of grew in. And you can still, or you could, 3 or 4 years ago. You could go out and still see where there was gravel in the grass, where it originally started. And that's an awful lot of traffic be coming up through there. That much traffic. And again, I know he's not going to have a lot of traffic in January, but July, he's going to have a lot of traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Have any questions? Staff?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question of staff. Danielle, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, that the major home-based business regulations are a starting point for this board, and that we can make adjustments to it as part of our deliberations. Is that not correct?
That is correct, especially on the criteria of the number of employees and the number of vehicles, that the board has the authority to increase that number on a case-by-case scenario.
And to follow up also, was I correct earlier when I said that the number of employees would be on site at any one time? That's where the limitation is, not the total number?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of the staff?
Just one more here, just on a confirmation, is 8 trucks. And if we limit that, I know that's what the request is for, but he can't expand past that number on what we grant today if we were to grant that.
If you were to place the limit on 8 trucks, business trucks, that's what it would be.
But if we don't, it could be any number it could grow to. If we approve the
Well, typically, it's based on what he's requested in the application.
Okay.
So it would be held to that number. If he were to increase it, he would need to come before you if you were to approve it based on his application, or you just go ahead and approve it for more or less.
Okay, I was trying to understand limitations on vehicles. Thank you.
Motion is standard, then he can't increase that without coming back to us. It has to be that way. I don't know if that. No, it does. Okay. At this point, I'll entertain a motion. Somebody would like to make one.
Mr. Chairman, based on everything that we've heard today and have asked many questions about, I truly believe that this is right on the fine line between what would be a small commercial operation versus a major home business. And I believe that with the appropriate limitations by this body placed on it, that we could be something that would be acceptable to both the applicant and his neighbors. And so I am proposing that we approve this with the staff comments and the additional limitations of that sufficient screening of the vehicles being stored on the property shall be put in place, namely a building to store them inside so that they are totally non-visible. And that up to 8 two-axle vehicles for any vendor services as described in the in section B of the general requirements, and up to 2 trailers, and that all backup beepers shall be disabled when on the property.
A motion before us.
Can I ask a question to that motion?
Sure.
It's the 8 plus the other 2 vehicles? So
No,
a total,
it's 8
that's
two-axle-
inclusive of
8
it?
two-axle vehicles.
Okay, and you mentioned something else about the extended vehicles. There's another vehicle that they have aside from their standard one that he was explaining, and you included that.
Trailers.
The trailers,
Yeah, the
okay,
2
but
trailers.
is that in addition to the 8?
Yes.
Okay.
Second that. Got a second? Any further discussion?
Two trailers and 8 vehicles.
Do you need him to repeat that again? Okay. Anybody? Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
No.
Jerry Sartain,
No.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis. No. Patrick Hale,
Yes.
Dane Cantrell. That's 4 yeses and 3 nos.
It is passed. Any further information to go before this BZA?
No, sir.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.